What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, I'm Dante Finiguera. I was a personal trainer turned Navy SEAL. Now I'm back to personal training and providing fun, entertaining content for all you guys. This is an interesting podcast. Happened 3 years ago. It's Chris Hinshaw, and he's on the Mark Bell Power Project. I listened to this when it first came out, and I just remembered it. And this is one of the reasons why I barely ran before BUDS or Navy SEAL training. Don't get me wrong, I still ran a lot. I was in a college track class, which we ended up not running as much as you think. And I was also a former soccer player, so that helped a lot. But I didn't really run more than 6 miles at a time and didn't really push my mileage per week more than 6 to 10 miles a week before, when most of the time they're recommending 40 plus before you go in. I realized during this podcast, Chris was explaining exactly the training you can be doing to improve your aerobic capacity without running a ton. So let's get into it.
Or they just get fatigued. They get tired. They're weak in terms of the recovery. They're weak in terms of their aerobic system. Remember, one of the major measures of aerobic fitness is how fast can you recover? So is your limitation in the movement of doing more reps because of fatigue? And so if it is, then what should I do? Should I have you do more heavy bench press? Or should what I do is have you do a high intensity effort like a running sprint? We're going to do max reps of push-ups for a short amount of time, maximize the creation of fatigue through high force push-ups. We can even do high force bench press, lightweight, high velocity. And then what we're going to do after a short amount of time, like we would do a 100-meter sprint, maybe 12, 15 seconds worth, we're going to rack it. Or if we're doing regular push-ups, we'll flip over on our back and we're going to do very slow, active recovery, floor presses, or bench press with the PVC pipe. The purpose on the first part is high intensity, create fatigue. The second part is active recovery, clear fatigue. Now, we would do the active recovery portion for the remainder of the minute. We would do a total of 5 rounds, a total of 5 minutes, 12 to 15 seconds high intensity. The remainder of the minute is recovery. And now what we're doing is, instead of breaking up push-ups to get better at push-ups and resting, right? Remember, if you put a stimulus of rest on the body, you get good at resting. What we're doing is actually making you move, but call it recovery. Not many people have done 5 minutes of unbroken push-ups. So what we're doing, though, is we're changing the focus not on the intensity side of the equation, but on the recovery. And what we're doing is focusing on the recovery. Why? Because that is what's preventing you from reaching your goal. That's aerobic capacity.
So keep doing something through the active recovery.
Right.
Don't just stand still and try to breathe.
Right. So Fraser had it.
Okay, this is awesome. This is basically all I would do with push-ups, pull-ups, running, squats, lunges, flutter kicks. I never would rest, no matter what I did. It just felt right to me, and Chris is putting it into the words that I didn't have back then, and now that I know now. So for instance, what I would do would be, I'd get tired. So let's just say push-ups going to get me tired. I might do a sprint on the treadmill. Then jump into max amount of push-ups, either with a weight vest or plyometric push-ups. Once I reached failure, I would immediately go into some sort of light resistance or easier workout for a quote-unquote recovery. And I just, in my head, I thought, okay, cool. I just want to remain tired and catch my breath. But what can I be doing in the meantime? So I would do maybe jumping jacks, or I'd do flutter kicks, or I would hold a plank, or I would do TRX rows, or maybe jump on the pull down machine and do a light set of 20 to 30 pull downs as I'm catching my breath. Maybe jump into sit-ups. The point here is that you can catch your breath and keep building that aerobic capacity even when you're doing calisthenics or high intensity things for a short amount of time. So that's what I was doing, and this is really cool to listen to probably one of the best coaches in CrossFit of all time. He's coached Matt Fraser, Rich Froning, and a bunch of other people. on how to build their aerobic capacity. So let's move on to this second clip. He's talking about Matt Fraser here.
So Fraser had an issue with, he wanted to be able to do 25 150-pound D-balls over the shoulder unbroken, no rest.
Okay.
So he was able, I asked him how many he can do back then. This was like 5 years ago. And he's like, I could do 12. What's preventing you, Matt, from doing one more? And this is where a coach has to help an athlete. Is it that you're not strong enough? Do you feel that strength is a limitation? And he's like, no, I can put a 300-pound stone up. It's like, no, I'm plenty strong. Well, then what is it? And he says, I just get tired. There's an athlete that tells you that it's my recovery. Remember that when you're doing those heavy D-balls, the brain is recruiting a certain amount of motor units. When those motor units get fatigued, the brain shuts them off and recruits another batch of them. Eventually, you work your way around to the first recruited motor units. And if they haven't recovered, then what do? They have to recruit fast twitch fibers. Now death is on its way. So what we want to do is force them to recover. So what do we do with Matt? I want you, instead of doing 6 and then resting in a chair and then doing 6 and then resting in a chair, I want you to give me 3 with 150 pounds fast. And then after you finish those 3, I want you to take a 20-pound med ball and I want you to go slow from ground to shoulder on the left side, ground to shoulder on the right side, meaning that is going to be your active recovery in the same movement pattern that you just did with the D-ball, but the intent is different. D-ball is high intensity, create fatigue. The med ball is slow, low intensity, aerobic, clear fatigue. And what we're going to do is you're going to give me a minute of those med balls slow. We're going to do a total of 5 rounds. So here he is now doing a workout with 0 rest. But the way he's able to do it is the recovery is easy. So the progression for him is what? We don't need to work on his strength because he says he's strong. So the next workout is exactly the same, except what do? We change the med ball weight. Instead of 20 pounds, it's now 25. We make each workout more difficult by moving in the direction of the weakness. And wouldn't it be something if we could keep moving the recovery until it matches up with the intensity? So we get all the way up to 80 pounds, and then what happens is that the intensity side is too easy because of the repetition. His efficiency goes up. So the 150 doesn't offer the same stimulus. So what do?
Increase
Bump the 150 to 200. And when you bump it up to 200, what do you do with the recovery? Knock it back down to 20 and start all over. That's what I'm talking about.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Wow. Once again, this is awesome. And it's just things I'm realizing I used to train for and used to do all the time and didn't know why I was doing it. It felt like it was making me better cardiovascular wise and improving my aerobic capacity while getting stronger with all these lifts without having to run a ton. And you're improving your strength and pull-ups and push-ups. Specifically for me, kind of what Matt was doing with I think he was doing med ball lifts or D-ball lifts, something. With pull-ups, let's just say I would get tired. So either a run, burpees, anything to, lose my breath a little bit. I would go and do pull-ups till failure. And the second I hit failure for my rest and to just keep working on that pulling motion, I would go and do TRX rows or like an inverse row, inverse push-up, reverse push-up with the barbell. Take a quick rest and repeat until that got too easy. And then it's all right, cool. Let's put on a weight vest and do 10 to 20 reps. Or start with 10 and move my way up to 20 after a couple weeks with a weight vest. And the second I hit failure, take the weight vest off, keep doing pull-ups until I can do 20 reps with a weight vest, take off the weight vest, no rest, immediately hit 20 more body weight, take a quick break, and I'm already recovered. And let's put the weight vest back on and just repeat until I was doing sets of 20 back to back many times. While catching my breath, while doing the pull-ups. So it taught me that you can get stronger and learn to catch your breath and recover while building that aerobic capacity. It was awesome. And I didn't really know what I was doing. And it seems like Chris knows exactly what it means to do that kind of training. It's just cool that I was doing that kind of intuitively. So here, a next cool one, he talks about lactic acid buildup and tolerance. So let's check that out.
So when you were talking about the lactic acid there, it's not just that you get more efficient with using lactate, but do you also become more accustomed with the pain aspect of that? Or does that also just reside over time? Like you don't feel that as bad?
So that's a great question. So that would be the other side of the equation. And that would be more of a tolerance to lactate.
Tolerance.
Right? Because part of what we know is that if we build up the acidity, we'll eventually interfere with the muscle's ability to fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we want to do is we want to develop the ability to keep the muscles turned on under higher and higher doses of acidity. So how do we do it? What we do is we do lactate tolerance training where by design, we are limiting the amount of rest that the athlete is getting so that the amount of lactic acid that is in rep number 2 is more than in rep number 1. So a good example would be, what I want you to do is you're going to do a 20-second hill sprint. And you're going to walk down to the bottom after you're done. As soon as you hit the bottom, you're going again. And we're going to do that 8 times. What's going to happen is your distance is going to get shorter and shorter each time because of that accumulation of lactic acid. And it's not that you're a quitter. It's just that the muscles are shutting down because of the acidity interfering with the muscles from firing. So by design, what we're telling you is you're going to end up going shorter. Your job in this workout is don't quit. Fight to keep the muscles turned on under higher doses of acidity. That is a trainable adaptation. In addition to that, the body, due to the increase of acidity, will release an enzyme that will neutralize or buffer out that lactic acid. You have to do the high intensity training because in the sport of CrossFit, that acidity is going to occur at some point in time in an event.
Awesome. Lactic acid. Yeah. So something similar I used to do would be, like you said, hill sprints till basically failure where your legs are just, blown up with lactic acid. You can't really run anymore. I would do a lot of treadmill hill sprints so you can focus on maintaining the same speed and track your speed. And then once a certain speed got too easy, but the next speed up was just a little bit too fast to where it was like, okay, I can't even sprint this fast, no matter how hard I try. But the speed lower is too easy. I'm not getting as much lactic acid. I'm not getting tired. I would jump off the treadmill and go straight into plyometric squats and plyometric lunges. And those are insane alone. Now, after your legs are blown up from an incline treadmill sprint, jumping right into those, it's like, all right, cool. We're going to go, a 30-second, hill sprint on the treadmill. Jump off. Let's try 20 plyometric squats into 20 plyometric lunges, if not more, and see when my legs fail. And then just notate that. Cool. Legs literally failed at rep 40 or rep 50. Cool. Let's try to hit 50 again, or let's try to hit 40 next time, and just keep repeating and getting used to your body filling up with that lactic acid to just keep training it to basically, I think what he said was like almost like buffer it out. So you just get used to ridding that lactic acid, and you just become better and better at honestly training with it in your legs is what really helped me is because without running, I mean, you could run all day long. It's a different beast when you get to SEAL training because yeah, sure, you're running a lot, but a lot of that running is on the sand. What a lot of people forget is that sand running absolutely explodes the legs. They fill up with blood so quick because you're using so many muscles from the sand being uneasy, and it's like it's insane. And the more used you are to, running with that lactic acid and used to the pain and what it brings. I mean, I usually when I start feeling lactic acid in my legs, like in an extreme amount, I could feel it in my mouth. It's like it feels like it's all over my body. So getting used to that, hill sprints is great. Stair sprints are great. Plyometric squats and lunges are awesome, but just getting used to that. A last little one that I'm gonna check out. It's a little bonus. He's talking about breathing cadence. So here we go.
That you can do really easily is you want to count the number of footsteps you take per cycle of breath. Every time, so your exhale begins when your foot hits the ground. That's always what happens with all of us, is the cycle will start your exhale on a foot strike, whether it's your left side or your right side. If you are in control of your breathing, meaning you are giving your muscles that are moving enough oxygen, you may be suffering, but they're getting enough oxygen, you're going to be breathing by taking 4 steps for every cycle of a breath. So it's an exhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale. Now that's what we call a 4-count cadence. Anything a 4 or higher, you're okay. If you cross over into a 3, now what you're doing is you're going to dip into what we call a non-sustainable pace above lactate threshold. So think of it like climbing into the death zone on Everest. You could go above it and summit, but you will die. And in the movement of running, you're just going to stop and hunch over and put your hands on your knees. So knowing that, it's knowledge that by intention, you may be by going into a 3 count because you got to go up a hill or you're pushing to the finish line. After 3 count, you would go to a 2 count. A 2 count for most people, they could keep the muscles firing for about 20 seconds. Think about your closing sprint. And then the accumulation of lactic acid builds up where the muscles start shutting down. So you could stay on a 2 count for a long amount of time, but what's your velocity doing? So what we want to do is teach those basics.
Okay. I knew nothing about breathing cadence until I watched this podcast 3 years ago when it came out. I'm sure maybe coaches have taught me before, maybe in a class or maybe even in like Bud's prep or something. I don't remember it. But what's so interesting and cool is it makes complete sense to me is that what I used to do my whole life while I was running, and I could tell that when I was in the best form of my breath, which I didn't realize, is when I would breathe out, my favorite number, I used to have severe OCD as a kid, might even still have it now. I probably do. But I had to do everything in 4s. So that turned into my running is when I would exhale, I would go, and on my inhale, I would go, and it ended up aligning with my footsteps. So it ended up being like, wait, let's try that again. It ended up being, my hands being my feet hitting the ground. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 4 in, 1, 2, 3, 4 out, 1, 2, 3, 4 in. And I would maintain that. And that was my best breathing cadence. And I felt the best while doing that on a long run. Let's say we were doing like a 4-mile time run in Buds or something. I remember trying to stick to that. And now he's explaining it exactly that I was doing the right thing. And that's actually good. And then, when you get out of breath is when you start, taking maybe, 3 to 2 exhales. Or is it 3 to 2 exhales per 2 steps? Something like that. I already forgot. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Once again, it's Chris Hinshaw on the Mark Bell's Power Project. Thank you for putting this out 3 years ago. I learned a lot, and this is an amazing podcast. It's like 3.5 hours long. I've listened to the whole thing twice. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Once again, I'm Dante Finiguera. If you like this video and you want to see another one, right up there. Pretty entertaining swim challenge video. Also, I created a workout program. It's my top 10 favorite 30-minute AMRAPs. Link will be in the description. And a lot of these workouts are exactly what we talked about in this video. So check it out. I'll see you guys in the next one.